Hello, we are with Jeff Dunbar, Athletic Director here at Garner Magna High School. We are just here to ask him just a couple interview questions about what it is like to be an athletic director here at an high school and what it is all about. Okay, so hello, Jeff.
Hello.
First question is, what role do you believe athletics play in a student's development?
Obviously, it's a vital part. I mean, that's why it's offered in public education. The monitoring and the support they get from the coaching staff, regardless of what sport, but the character and those intangible things in the development of these young people, that's its purpose, and beyond the support of the academics.
Okay. Number 2, describe your ideal athletic coach and what type of coaches you would like to see in the program.
Well, obviously you want professional coaches in that they take their job serious, they understand their role in the development of young people, and that's priority. They got to like kids, a lot like the sport, but then when it comes to developing that child or those relationships, that's something they have to work on. So, a good communicator, the same things you want in a good teacher. Mm-hmm. I think that's the first thing you want as a coach. You want a teacher, mm-hmm. Someone that understands how kids learn and also understands the other things that come with the job. Understanding the administrative aspects of safety, organization, and those kind of things. But that one quality is being a teacher.
Okay. So fundraising, what experience do you have with it? What fundraising events would you like to implement here at Garner?
Garner's unique. It's a community school. In fundraising, I mean, the community supports anything we do, whether it's selling discount cards. Obviously, our Trojan Club is probably one of the biggest in the state as far as the support structure. We offer different levels and sponsorships that range from them getting banners or names in a program to plaques, those kind of things. But they don't see it that way. They simply want to support our student athletes. There's so many sports here that coaches have to understand that it still has to go through the athletic director, because we want to take care of our businesses. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that everything that's going on outside in the community is funneled through our school, because there are good guys and bad guys. Some mm-hmm. just go to business saying they're representing our school. So we have a good handle on that, making sure that coaches relate to the AD. Here's what I want to do. Here's how I want to do it. And making sure it doesn't conflict with other sports or the Trojan Club as a whole. Mm-hmm. So, this being the central piece of it, I don't restrict fundraising because of where we're at. Our community can handle it. If we were in another place, I might constrict the things we do. But there's so many businesses and so many people that want to help. It's probably one of the most unique places in Wake County, to say the least.
And it helps represent the school very well.
Yes.
Okay, so what brings you the most joy as an athletic director?
Same thing as a teacher, seeing kids succeed. You coach and you like to win. There's no doubt there. Now that I'm out of coaching, I still like to see those coaches see success winning, but that doesn't give me that satisfaction like it did. Seeing how these coaches develop these kids and watching them from 9th grade and seeing not only athletically how much they've learned from coaches and matured and gotten better athletically, but knowing that by doing so it's supported them academically and in their confidence, their own character. That's what we're doing it for.
Yeah. Have you ever had to fire a coach before?
Yes.
How was that process?
The emotional part of it or the logistics of it? Both.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and coaching and the teaching aspects go hand in hand. We do have coaches that are non-faculty. You want to give that person every opportunity to be successful. So when it comes to a coach, if there's issues, and I really run it the same way as I did when I was a principal, coaches need evaluated. Everybody can improve. Mm-hmm. I get evaluated, and every year I can improve. Mm-hmm. And coaches need to be pretty much just like teaching, have goals, be evaluated for strengths and weaknesses, And that'll help when it comes to, and you say fire or dismiss.
Yeah.
It's a clear understanding of the expectations we want from the coach.
Right.
When you come as athletic director and you are not talking about wins and losses, you're talking about the organization aspect. The goals you want, are they the same as for the total athletic program?
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking program success or student success? Well, we're talking student success. So when you have those things understood, it's a lot easier in a conversation with a coach to say, this is not happening, and this is why. And if you don't have those things lined up, then dismissing a coach is a rather difficult process. So I model it the same way I do as a teacher.
Gotcha. So kind of going back to the fundraising thing, what is your experiencing on coordinating and developing events?
Well, fundraising, coaches handle most of that. Obviously in the fall, if you've ever been to our football games, you see the banners, you're going to see 50 of those.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge process. But once again, that's, over the summer, getting with businesses, promoting the programs, showing what you have to offer. But you can't do any of this by yourself.
Right.
It's too big. It's a 4A school. There's 2,700 kids here. The community, there's too many people that want to be involved, so you take advantage of that. So we have people on the Trojan Club that we delegated just for sponsorship, just for fundraising. We have specific people that work with me that organize those things. Because no matter what the coaches do specific to raising money for their particular sport, we as a Trojan Club have to raise large amount of funds for large things.
Right.
Especially since this transition onto a new campus for 2 years and going back, there's expenses that we've incurred that we wouldn't have if we didn't have to move.
Mm-hmm.
But we remember that regardless if we're on the original Spring Drive campus or we're here, it's the senior year for the kids that are here. So, we do everything that we can, to make that happen. And when you're doing that, you're having expenditures you hadn't planned on, whether it's extra bleachers,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a new school, or getting the field prepped. There's just those expenses. So obviously, when you're organizing those things, you're meeting with the community that will help you,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have people that contact businesses and so forth. Going back with the coaches, I do tell them, here's sort of what I want from your fundraising. And it just helps them with those expenses.
Right.
Obviously, the Trojan Club's going to get the main items they need: uniforms, balls. They're going to take care of those things through their fundraising. We just don't want to make sure there's no conflict between their fundraising activity and something our Trojan Club is doing,
Right.
which is usually a lot larger
Mm-hmm.
financially.
So, in your opinion, what do you think makes a successful athletic event then?
A successful athletic event.
Yeah.
Knowing that we want the community here is the first thing. That being the feeling of wanting to be here, that you are invited. It's sort of like a school.
Mm-hmm.
Athletics in a school are just about the same thing as far as planning and doing those things. If I were the principal of the school, I want the feeling of this school to be inviting. I want parents to be welcome to come in here and see their kids. I want them talking to teachers. And it's that same thing with a philosophy of how your program runs.
Yeah.
And you're more apt to have your parents, hey, I want to go watch Coach,
Mm-hmm.
beyond my kid. I want to come because they probably want to see me.
Yeah.
There's no negative vibes here. You're welcome. It's a family atmosphere. How do you work to get it that way? Well, I've been at other schools and opened other schools where that process might take 10 years.
Right.
Being in this position with Garner, it's had success so long that it is here.
Right.
So how do you continue it? Well, communication is number one.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to your parents. Send stuff out. Hey, love to see you. Remember Friday night, we have a game. And if you'll see, beyond our school website, we have the Garner Trojans website.
Mm-hmm.
And we have alumni. Our alumni base is so huge. That's a lot of the secret to making this inviting.
Right.
I mean, if you get on there, it's got a private website. It'll tell you what alumni 30 years ago is doing today.
Mm-hmm.
It takes all those things to put on a good event. But the organization part, regardless of all that support, the lights have to be on.
Mm-hmm.
The ticket takers have to be here.
Yeah, a lot goes into it.
You got to have the referees ready.
Yeah.
Concessions have to be ready. So you want it to be successful, you better have a nice little checkoff sheet,
Right.
and you better make sure that you have every logistical element handled, so that when you have that smile and mom knows she's invited, that it's on
Right.
and it's ready, and everybody's here that needs to be here, and it's classy, it's organized, it's professional, and
It's the little things that go into it that
all
people
the
don't think
little
about.
things.
Yeah.
You know, where you're putting the basketball rack.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's the little things, because you don't want 50 people at halftime running around shooting baskets, because
Right.
they will do it. You
Yeah.
know, all the little things to keep it classy, organized, running smoothly, and that's the secret to making it a successful event.
Sweet. So, going back, I probably should have asked this earlier, but how long have you actually been involved in being an athletic director?
I've been in education 22 years, head football coach, head softball. I've done about every sport, but even when I first started, I was assistant athletic director in the seasons I didn't coach. So, I mean, you're talking probably after my third year, I was helping at another school as
Right.
assistant athletic director. So
what's your
It was
experience with hiring? How's the hiring process as being an athletic director?
much like the teaching, you want to try to coordinate. Your goal is to get faculty coaches. Obviously, for various reasons, you're talking about hiring, firing, those kind of things.
Right.
When it's wrapped into one, they understand the educational system. They understand the expectations 24/7. You know, so that's what you're looking for, but really, the same system applies. I mean, if you want a coaching position, you have to go in the same county system to
Right.
apply. You go through the same procedures as applying as a coach as you do a teacher. What we do is we do the same thing, or I say we, but it's usually me, obviously. Narrow down the candidates, interviews, call references. I mean, it's the same as teaching. You know, when we hire people, we're looking for the same qualities.
So, scenario here, if a coach was loved by the students, but was underperforming on the field, what would you do about that?
We want our kids to respect the coaches, but are you able to define underperforming? You know,
Right.
and I think that has a lot to do with what I would do. You know, we have to define it. And that goes back to having clear expectations of what we want before they even get on the field. You know, liking or not liking really doesn't have a bearing on our situation as far as
Right.
coaches go. You know, underperforming, if you're underperforming, then it's just like teaching, whether it's an improvement plan. Here's what I need from you. Here's the steps to do that.
If you don't meet
If you don't meet those, then
Gotcha.
there's the consequence, and that's there where they're liked, unliked.
Okay, so obviously you have a passion for sports, coached several. How do you take that passion and translate it into this position that you have now?
It's a different situation entirely.
Yeah.
You know, the love of sports, watching sports. It's kind of like being a school administrator, though. You have to work very hard to continue relationships with kids. You know, a pat on the back and a clap, because you're pulled away with the logistic organizational part.
Right.
So. Just remembering why you're doing it. You know, I have the same goals. Just like you were asking me the questions about coaching and how I do it, I'm held to that same standard by the administration. You know, what are your goals? What do you want to see in a successful program? What is a successful program? One of the goals is always those relationships, seeing the students succeed, whether it's academically or on the court. So, knowing what the goal is, I feel like I'm still a part of the overall, you know, success of what we're after here.
Yeah.
You know, do I miss the whistle and going out and being out there? Yes, but I can walk out there anytime and at least cheer.
Right.
So.
Well, obviously here at Garner, as an alumni myself, like fan attendance isn't really a problem for big sports, football, basketball, and even baseball and softball. At times, fan attendance can be really big. But what about the smaller sports that don't get much attention? How do you improve fan attendance on that?
That is very difficult. You know, there's things that you can do. You want to ensure, obviously, equality with all sports. So whether it's the uniforms and those kind of things, all those are taken care of.
Right.
You'll find that the support is the same as you just asked. You're going to have a lot of people wanting to support the big programs.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be a part of that, but it does drop off.
Right.
You're not going to hear as much about the non-revenue sports.
Mm-hmm.
Ways that I look at it, they publicity-wise get the same exposure as the big ones. We want to make sure on our end that we're doing everything with equality to that point. You can do other little things like with the student body, with the ticket sales, or getting in free for a game to try to stir up a little bit more excitement or interest in those programs. Those are things that we can do. But like I said, my number one job is to ensure that it's equality as far as the publicity, what we offer. If the concession's open for this, it's going to be open for that, whether it's 2 people or it's
only
1,000. Right, and just promoting as much as we can. I know coaches, it's hard on those coaches too, but working with the coaches to try to get the parents more involved too with being there. That's the initial step, I think. It's when you get the main stakeholders involved, you'll get more and more interest in the programs.
Right. So when it comes to being an athletic director, you're dealing with all sports, like I mentioned, but how do you decide what gets top priority? Do you do it season based? Do you do it by need based? How do you decide, okay, I'm going to focus on this first and then go with that next?
Well, you want to do it needs based, obviously. Everything is seasonal, but the way sports are, today, you have spring training, so to speak, for football, it's conditioning, and a lot of sports are kind of going in and out year-round with dead periods, so there is no cutoff anymore where you can just stop.
Right.
Years ago when fall sports were over, they were over. Kids would turn on to winter. And there's a lot of that still here. And I'm happy with the way it's worked here because we do have kids that play multi-sports. Yeah. It is great. We're probably one of the few schools that still have that. We encourage it. We love it. Seeing other schools' dilemmas with one sport athletes and seeing, like football would have the spring conditioning and those kind of things, it's not that bad here because of our encouragement of playing multi-sports. Yeah. But in saying that, with the way you prioritize things, you can't block it off, really.
Right.
It's a continuous flow with 30-some sports. Because when the season's over, we're not stopping
anything else.
And we're not stopping checking on that athlete. It's a continuous, what's your grades, checking the grades,
right.
Are you being successful? The flow of the seniors, where you're going to college, working that out for scholarships. So it's a constant flow. So, as an AD, obviously, you have 100 checklists.
Yeah.
You got a binder for everything. And most of the time, every problem has I say solution, but it has a rule.
Right.
Whether it's a conference rule or high school athletic association rule, and just keeping up to speed with that type stuff. But that you have certain things to take care of at the beginning of each season.
Right.
Like this computer right here, it's got eligibility setting right here in my face. You're checking those things, making sure that everything is prepped for the season.
Gotcha.
But you also know that you're still dealing with basketball.
Yep, and there's more seasons to come.
So the seasons overlap. So it's just like administration, regular school administration. You have that vision and you have that course of action for 12 months, but all the things that arise are still need-based.
It never stops, yeah. So as the dynasty that I believe Garner has built and has been building for so many years, for decades, and besides winning teams, there's so many winning teams here, football, basketball, softball. What do you think motivates you here as an athletic director to just keep going every season?
Well, being new here myself, but being in the school system, Wake County, for 20-some years, I've been on the outside a lot of time looking and seeing the way they do things, the class, the success. And obviously the Celebration football championship a few years ago, and my wife graduated that year from Garner.
That's
so
awesome.
There's the secret right there.
Yeah.
It's that family,
the roots.
the roots, the connection,
Mm-hmm.
Whether you married into it or you graduated
Right,
from it.
right.
It's Garner High School. It is exactly what I thought it would be when I was at another school looking at it.
Right.
How do I keep it that way? The issue is this brand new building right here.
Right.
So, and I think the Trojan Club and the alumni have a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
We have set up everything to where, even though a new school in this community is about to open in a couple of years, the connections and the base of Garner Trojans is so strong that it will last
Mm-hmm.
for decades.
Right.
Like I said, whether it's the Trojan websites and those kind of thing, but that's the secret to this place.
Right.
It just can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's so continuous, and the alumni have kept that going. And that's really the secret to it. You want to keep that standard though, and really was my point when I got the job here. That is my number one goal. I want to go to this campus and go back to the original campus and not lose any identity, and have the kids understand that it's what it was.
Right.
Garner Trojans, you're in the same stadium.
Just because it's a different location doesn't mean it's any different. So with the parents, and I heard you talking about Trojan Club and alumni, a lot of them probably are parents and students. Now, what do you think is the proper role of the parents in any athletic program?
Understanding that they're the parent and the coach is the coach. Just like your expectations for your students, parents have to have that same philosophy. I've taken a year to really understand the ways of Garner and see those things. My standards, which a lot of them are implemented now and more next year, but talking with parents, having parent meetings, letting them understand that, hey, here's the procedure for anything.
Right.
When you have issues, this is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
That will assist in a lot of ways, but I think that understanding has also already been culminated through the culture.
Right.
It's already been established from years ago. They understand that's the way we do things. If I have an issue, this is what I do. And it's worked really well, and that's why I haven't been overzealous in a power trip here of these are things.
Because you haven't really needed to be.
No.
Right.
No. A lot of things have been established already, and understanding and keeping that understanding alive is probably my major role this year. We had enough on the plate by making the move campuses, so keeping the balance right now of what's already in place is huge. Parents know they can call me anytime. I'll put that out on the internet when I see them at games. I communicate with them, and parents, they'll come up, they'll smile. I hate to bother you, but I said that's my job. There is no but. What's the issue? Let's fix it. And I think doing that has spread very quickly. So we've continued
to keep that
pretty alive here.
Yeah. So just a couple more questions here. Describe the proper relationship that you believe should be between a coach, athletic director, and principal.
Well, that kind of goes back to the way we do the evaluation process and establish our goals and establish really the working relationship we have. It comes from the top, the administration, obviously not just the principal, but the whole administration and the teachers. We as a staff define who we are, mission, vision. Here's what we want to achieve for the year.
Right.
And then the first question the principal is going to ask me is, how does athletics play into our mission? Because it is a vital part.
Right.
They're not separate, and that's the success of this school too. When you total inclusion of every element of our school. So when I answer, here is what our purpose is, then it goes to the next step.
Right.
Coaches, here is our purpose, and all of a sudden, that team aspect of leadership has come about. Here's who we are, here's where we want to go, here's our expectations. If that doesn't happen, here's what we have to do.
Right, and I mean, that's very true. I mean, I think about being at state, like we're defined by our sports teams. Right. Every school is almost identified by how well is your football team, how well is your basketball team. And so a lot of identity goes into that, so I can definitely understand that. Last question, I think, is one of the most important questions just because I was a student athlete as well, and it's helped me carry into the success that I have here at state. But what are your academic and behavioral expectations for your players, both on and off the field or court?
Well, really, they're defined first by the High School Athletic Association as far as eligibility, and they have really took the lead on, here's our expectations for parents, here's our expectations for student athletes. Then it goes down to the county level, and usually the county can, be a little bit more stricter. And we try to follow that county model because obviously we want to be on the same page as far as what we want to require our kids. Obviously we could go more than that, but we minimally have to do what the county says. And the county does have a little higher standard as far as your GPAs, your attendance. At the school level, obviously behavior and those kind of things, it's really defined with our coaching staff as far as the character element. When we have a kid that maybe falls out of line or brings any negativity into the program, coaches have been extremely understanding, and they know the procedure to knock on that door and let's get it straight here. If it needs then to go to the administration, it goes to the administration.
Right.
If it needs to go back to the coach, it goes back to the coach. Variety of scenarios, but I think those are defined. We don't hide anything behind the door.
Right.
We define what happened, we define what's going to happen, and all the student athletes already know, so they know what's happening. So we take care of it. Like I said, it depends on what it is, what element. It either goes further up, it goes back to the coach, or I take care of it, and a lot of times we get the parents involved. That's the first thing. And that's one of the most important things. I think from this desk, I really modeled it after, I asked myself what would I do if I was a school administrator.
Right. Yeah.
I always get everybody involved. One of the worst decisions you can make is to make a decision and not involve parents or a coach or the administration.
Yeah.
So we make sure every stakeholder is involved, and that's really how we solve a lot of the issues that we would have. I will tell you they're minimal this year.
Yeah,
very,
that's awesome.
Very minimal. I think it goes back to when they put that uniform on and it says Garner.
Yeah.
They know that everybody's watching.
Yeah, it's character, it's pride.
Right.
And it all goes into that.
It's pressure.
Into what Garner is, yeah.
It's pressure on them. I can see it. I like it at some point, but then I just tell them, relax, it's okay. But they understand this.
The expectation to uphold.
Right. And for high school, that's kind of tough. I mean, at collegiate level, they've got it. But most high schools don't have this level as what Garner has. And for the kids to understand it, it's special here.
Right. Well, Mr. Dunbar, I can't thank you enough. I think this program is on their way to success, more success than it already has built. So I thank you so much for your insight and your advice, and I just wish you the best of luck in the upcoming seasons.
Right. Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right.
How long was that?
28 minutes.